Salute, salute. What's going on? So, today we're going to have a conversation about the Roth 401k. This is something that's probably new to some, and it's probably been a best kept secret. So, we're gonna just talk about how we can put you in position to benefit from this, right? And my primary objective today is to just go through it, talk about some of the pros, some of the cons, who can contribute, and some of the things that you should know that I wish I knew 20 something years ago. So I'd be in position to be in a different situation today. So we're gonna talk about that right after the intro. Salute. So, you know, as a young man, I know there was a good amount of emphasis that was put into making preparations for the future. More specifically, making preparations through retirement planning, retirement investing. And I can say that I had people around me who would talk about retirement investing, but not really speak specifically about what I could do, how I could go about doing it. And so, my primary objective today is to make sure that someone can have some more concrete information about how you can go about putting yourself in position. And it's not about me advising you on what you should do. It's more so about just really sparking an interest and a desire uh, in order for you to take some kind of actionable steps. What can we say about Roth 401ks? What are Roth 401ks, right? Who can contribute to Roth 401ks, right? And the people who can typically contribute are workers of companies that provide Roth 401ks. They generally contribute a percentage of their earnings and then withdraw the funds tax free in retirement. So essentially, what it is you pay taxes today based upon a lower tax bracket. The idea in mind is that you'll be paying a higher tax going into the future as you accumulate your wealth or you continue to increase your asset portfolio. The objective is that to almost prepay in a sense for your retirement. That's what happens with the Roth 401k, right? We're going to cover some of the pros, right? So one of the pros is that the Roth 401k presents a situation where it's a 401k with Roth IRA features that's usually set up by your employer. What happens is this is like I said before, it's paid for with after tax dollars. So you pay your taxes and then you make contributions into a retirement account, right? Just like we said, you pay taxes now to avoid paying taxes later, right? What happens is it puts you in a situation where your earnings, your dividends that are paid out are not taxed by IRS because they were paid for when you initially set up the account. So it's not a situation where you have to pay on the back end, right? You in a situation where you save for retirement while avoiding capital gains and dividend taxes, right? Which is very important because, you know, if you have a portfolio that tends to increase significantly over time, one of the burdens that you end up facing on the back end is that the tax burden or the amount of taxes that you have to pay for a given portfolio size can be a deterrent as to whether or not you move funds from one location to another. Another pro is that it can be they can they have a tendency to offset the traditional 401k opportunities, right? And what happens is traditionally you have a 401k where the funds go straight into the account and you don't pay the taxes. And with this situation right here, it's just an opportunity, like I said before, just avoid paying taxes. On the back end, you do it today. So it's a little bit of a sacrifice. I can say that it's probably something that it takes like someone with a really disciplined mindset to actually do it, right? You have tax-free withdrawals if the account is kept for 5 years and the distribution is eligible, right? Early withdrawals can incur a 10% penalty if they are outside the exception area, right? Here we go right here. Early withdrawal exception, right? On an account where you actually do an early withdrawal, if you're in a situation where you become disabled on or after death, right? Or after you've turned 50, 59 and a half, then you won't incur the 10% penalty for withdrawing from this account, right? And what they say about a Roth 401k is it's almost likened to you putting $1,250 into an account in order for you to have a $1,000 holdings. So if you were to have a traditional 401k, you could do it where you put $1,000 into a traditional 401k, and then you risk the possibility of you having to pay a higher tax going into the future. So if you have an opportunity to go ahead and pay the taxes, which would be in this situation in the amount of $1,000, if you were to tell yourself that I'm going to pay $250 in taxes for a $1,000 contribution, it ultimately just ends up being a situation that works out better compared to you taking that same $1,000 that's grown to be $10,000, and then you're paying a higher tax bracket on the back end. So if you were just to do the math, $1,250 put into a Roth 401k is equivalent to $1,000 being put into a traditional 401k. Right? So the other pro is that employees can provide matching contributions. So prior to 2023, your employer would contribute money. Let's say you had a Roth 401k. Your employer would contribute all your money into a traditional 401k. And then you would have a Roth 401k that was your account type, right? So what would happen is you would have to take the matching contributions that they would give you. You would pay taxes on those, and then that money would be then moved over to a Roth 401k account. But now you don't have a situation in 2023 where you have to have two different account types. Now they're allowed to make matching contributions into your Roth 401k amount, so it allows those funds to also grow tax-free going into the future. Right? So now the other pro is that the variety of investing opportunities, usually in a traditional setting, is usually the same account options that you have with the traditional 401k. You would have them with the Roth. It's just like a side-by-side account type that you would have. Right? Now, another pro, this is really, really unique, is that generally speaking, Roth 401ks allow you to contribute more towards a retirement account than you would with a traditional Roth IRA or traditional IRA, which has the $6,500 maximum. With the Roth 401k, you have a $22,500 maximum. We'll talk about that here in a second, right? And one of the last but not least pro is that it allows you to borrow up to 50% of your holdings up to $50,000, whichever one is lesser. And then what happens is whenever you borrow those funds, if in the event that you don't actually pay those funds back, it creates a taxable event where you actually have to pay taxes on those funds. Although you've already paid taxes on them, you would have to pay the penalty. So it creates a situation where you cannot just, let's say for instance, you have a job, right? You have a loan that's outstanding on the account. You're required to actually pay back the loan before you leave your employer. Otherwise, it's considered to be a withdrawal up against your account, right? So that's where the taxable event is created right here. It's when you actually leave your employer and go to another place of employment. You're generally required to pay those funds back, right? So I want to say salute to Wally. Appreciate you coming through, bro. Yeah, man, we're having a conversation today about the Roth 401k. Are you familiar with the Roth 401k, Wally? Is this something that you've ever heard of? It tends to be an account that I'm a little bit newer to it as far as my employer. It's not something that they've been offering for a long time. It tends to be really a great opportunity if you're really thinking into the future. Like if you have an opportunity to pay taxes today at a lower tax bracket, the idea is that as you continue to elevate within your career, you'll be getting paid more and more along the way, and then you have an opportunity to be paid less, to be paying less as far as your tax bracket going into the future. So the idea is that this is an opportunity for you to almost prepay for your retirement. Now, what we want to talk about now is, let's talk about some of the cons, right? One of the cons that we can speak to that I just spoke on a second ago is that early withdrawals that exceed the contribution value are subject to a 10% penalty. And that's what that 10% penalty is that the IRS imposes upon you. And what usually happens is, those are the few exceptions: death, incapacity, retirement. If you're at the retirement age of 55 or older, it typically is a situation where they don't force you to pay the penalty, because it's understood that your hardships can be a little bit different around that time, that season in your life, right? And what happens is, because you have an opportunity where you're paying taxes ahead of time, they have a non-discrimination testing that's usually imposed upon the account. And what happens with the non-discrimination testing is that the intent is that the non-discrimination test is to make sure that high-income employees are not able to contribute more than the highly compensated employees, right? This ensures a little bit more fairness, and it keeps them a little bit more honest as far as avoiding situations where tax fraud can be suspected, right? You can imagine if someone is being paid $200,000, $300,000, they have an opportunity to contribute more towards retirement than you would if you were just a lower income earner, right? And right. So what happens is that another con is that, typically speaking, additional administrative costs result as a result of you attaining a loan or actually doing a withdrawal. Now, one thing that a lot of people might not know is that whenever those funds are taken out of your account, your retirement administrator might be imposing certain fees into your account in order for you to have those loans outstanding on a monthly basis or bi-weekly basis. And what happens is that you also have a situation where those monies are now not present in your retirement account, which also means that they don't have the opportunity for them to be compounding in interest. And so now you have a potentially significant amount of funds that are not out there working for you in order for them to build up your retirement portfolio, right? And now we also have the situation where high fees on some programs actually reduce the ability for your account to continue to grow, right? So that's something that's quite prevalent, depending upon the sort of account that you have. You could be having high fees that are being imposed on your account. And it's important for you to really, if you have a 401k loan of any sort that's outstanding, it's important for you to take a look and see, hey, what sort of fees am I being charged? And you look at them on a line by line basis in order for you to understand, I know you said that I'll be charging myself 5% in order for this loan to be administered. What potential other fees could I be getting charged along the way? And it's important for you to really take a really close look and see, I understand that this is supposed to be a loan to myself. The 401k administrator more than likely has some sort of way of also collecting for the work that they're doing on your behalf. Now, the other con is that, there's relatively low contribution limits compared to other account, right? And I can say that as far as a non-elective account for Roth 401k, it's 22,000. We're going to talk about that here in a second. 22,500. But if you were to have a non-elective retirement account, if you were a contractor or a business owner, you could have up to 66,000, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Significant amount, right? And compared to having an IRA, you can also have limited investing opportunities, right? And then modifications are limited potentially to only you making changes once every quarter, right? Now, what happens is with 401k and a Roth 401k, they are required minimum distributions, right? So it's a situation where you're required to start making withdrawals out of the account starting at a certain age. And for a Roth 401k and a 401k, as of 2023, right? The age that you were required to actually start making minimum withdrawals from your account is 73, right? So here we go. From 2023 to 2033, the required minimum distribution age rises to 73. And then in 2033, that age is going to increase to 75, right? Now, what happens is that also now penalties that are imposed upon your account, right? Where if you fail to actually start making those withdrawals by the age 73, then there's a penalty that you'll start paying for it. So the penalty went from 50% to 25%, right? Going into the future, right? And it's going to go down to 10% if it's paid by the end of the year, right? Right. Now, in the event that you are actually the surviving spouse of someone who's passed away, the required minimum distribution in the event that you are a surviving spouse, you are now being recognized as the original account holder as opposed to just the spouse, right? So in the event that it's inherited, the surviving spouse is recognized as the dead account holder for required minimum distribution reasons. So that's why it's important that you and your spouse are on the same page. That way it's clear that these withdrawals need to start happening at a specific age, right? And how it works is that, so to calculate the time by which you need to start making required minimum distributions, it said that the first required minimum distribution needs to be done by April 1st of the year after you turn 72, right? If you turn 72 in 2023, the deadline for your first withdrawal will increase to April of the following year when you actually are turning 73, right? Now, in the description, I've listed different sources that you can look for from the IRS. And here's the IRS site right here where you can look for information for details on required minimum distributions. Now, here's a kind of a workaround. Like I said, this is not investing advice, right? But it's just something you could look into. So now, by rolling over those funds from your Roth 401k to a Roth IRA, you have an opportunity for you to potentially avoid the required minimum distribution, right? Now, typically speaking, this tends to be somewhat of an administrative hassle, and it's not something that can be super simple. So it's important that you reach out to your financial advisor and have a good understanding of what are the necessary steps that you need to take in order for you to transfer those Roth 401k funds over to a Roth IRA. But the rules tend to change, so you want to make sure that you're aware of what you can and cannot do, as they tend to be a situation with the government. If they have an opportunity to choose, they would like for you to pay the money if they can help it, right? Right now, here's another site right here on the IRS website where it outlines where you can see some details about transferring your funds from a Roth 401k into a Roth IRA and any other designated Roth accounts, right? So you take a look at that. Now, the compensation and contribution limits are based upon the consideration of the cost of living adjustment being applied to them, right? So here's a website where you can look at more information about where you can find out details about cost of living adjustments to the contribution limits and the compensation limits, right? Here's another account, another place on the IRS website where you can look up information on comparing the Roth 401k to the 401k to the Roth IRA. So you can see all the different factors and characteristics that each one possesses. It's important to you really, in order for you to really be in position going into the future, it's important for you to understand what does it mean today from your financial situation? What does it mean for you to be contributing towards a Roth, right? Now, the one thing that I was really, really shocked by is that the Roth 401k does not have an income limit. Now, a traditional 401k does have an income limit, but the Roth 401k has no income limit. And that is shocking. I could not believe that when I found it. It just seems like something that if you're a higher income earner, it's almost crazy that you wouldn't take advantage of it, right? Now, like I've already stated, the contribution limit for Roth 401k is $22,500 for those are elected contributions into the 401k. So non-elected are different, right? Now, the way the rules work is that the Roth 401k contributions must be made by the end of the calendar year, meaning that the 2022 contributions, the deadline for you making contributions to be applied for 2022 and December 31st of 2022. Now, if you're between the ages of 50 and older, you now have an opportunity to contribute not just $6,500 like the times before. Now you have an opportunity to contribute an additional $7,500 starting in 2023 into that account. So that puts you at a total of $30,000 that can go into your retirement account on a given year, just based upon your traditional employment, right? And what's going to happen is that going into the future in 2025, the catch-up contributions will increase to $10,000 for anyone who's over the age of 50. In 2025, for those people who are 60 to 63, they have an opportunity to contribute $10,000 into those accounts, right? Which is amazing. Now, the things that have happened this year as part of the Secure Act 2.0 bill legislation that was put out there, and what's happened with that is that now it provided a situation where qualified contributions were subject to Roth treatment from 2024 and beyond, right? So anything that you previously were putting up there as a catch-up contribution, they were being taxed. They had tax treatment of a pre-tax situation and also a Roth where you were doing a post-tax or Roth tax basis situation. But going into the future, you have an opportunity to make those catch-up contributions, and that all of them will be treated as Roth contribution unless you are you're earning less than so anyone who earns less than $145,000 will not have the opportunity to will not be required to pay taxes. Here we go. It says, let me read it one more time. It says, Section 603 provides catch-up contributions to qualified retirement plans will be subject to Roth treatment from 2024, right? However, employees earning up to $145,000 will be exempt, right? So you will not have to pay that. You will not have an opportunity to use the Roth treatment, tax treatment, if you're earning over and above $145,000. So that's really a win right there. If you really think about it, like they're trying to make room for people who are not earning as much to have an opportunity to contribute a little bit more towards their retirement. But anyone who's earning over $145,000, now those people will still have to pay the pre-tax dollars for those catch-up contributions. And so the government is looking out for us, right? They're creating ways for people to invest into their retirement, because anyone who does not invest into their retirement are also people who are now potentially going to be a burden to the state or going to be a burden to the federal government. So they want to incentivize people who are making proactive measures today going into the future, right? So then we also have something else that's changed here, right? Now, what's oftentimes happens is that people are in a situation where they have to choose between paying back the student loans and also contributing towards their retirement, right? So now what happens is that the employees are having an opportunity as part of the Secure Act 2.0. It allows employers to make matching contributions into a retirement account for employees who are making student loan payments, even if they aren't contributing towards a 401k. So the amounts that you're paying towards your student debt is now also being matched by your employer, where it's going into a 401k on your behalf, right? Which is amazing. Now you're not having to choose between the two. You have an opportunity to really benefit from both standpoints, right? Now, this is what I was talking about earlier when I was saying up to $66,000. So now define non-elective contributions, where you can make contributions as someone who's a contractor or someone who has a business over and above your traditional employment. Now that specific amount as of 2023 has been increased to $66,000, and you have an opportunity to also make catch-up contributions if you're over 50 and make a total contribution of up to $73,500 towards your retirement. But these are non-elective contributions, right? These are contributions that you're not making specifically on your behalf. Now, you can find out the details of this information by going to the IRS website in order for you to really better understand what are considered to be non-elective contributions compared to the elective contributions into your retirement account, right? So here's the website right here where you can take a look at it, and I'll have the information down there in the description, right? And that concludes it right there, right? So that concludes the conversation right there, where we have an opportunity to really see what it looks like whenever someone is contributing towards a Roth 401k. Now, let me cover something real quick that I found to be interesting, right? I want to share with you all what I found about how much someone typically has on average in their account at any given moment, right? So let's take a look at this. Right? So what we can say is, excuse me. All right. So what we can say is, if we're looking at this right here, right? If you look and see the average 401k balance by age, right? So they say that whenever you're younger than 25, right? The average 401k balance is 6,200. Actually, let me make sure that you all are able to see. I want to say you actually, hold on. There we go. All right, we're struggle streaming. So this is what we have right here. So, all right, struggle streaming. All right, so this is what Motley Fool did a study, right? And they said that this says that this is the average 401k balance. How does it compare, right? Now, this was updated as of January 3rd this year, right? So they're saying that the average 401k balance by age is at 25, someone that's younger than 25, the average 401k balance is $6,264. The median 401k balance at the age of 25 or younger is $1,700. $1,700 at the age of 25. If we would have maybe guessed that everything went right, 3 years into their work life, they have maybe on average $1,700, but the average is $6,200, right? 26 to 34, the average balance is $37,000. The median, the one in the middle, is about $14,000, right? 35, the average is $97,000, right? Now, the median is 3,600. That's 35 to 44. I'm in that age group right there, right? So between 45 and 54, the average is $179,000 right? With the median of $62,000 that is generally in those balances at that time. Wow. 45 to 54, $61,000. That's median. Now, do you think that you can retire if you have a balance of $62,000 in your 401k? I mean, what decisions can you really make at that point, right? So then we have right here from 55 to 64, the average is $256,000, but the median is $89,000. I mean, how many other ways can we spell emergency outside of someone being 60 years old having $89,000 in their retirement? I mean, that's a wild notion, really wild. Now they say from 65 and older, they have 279, we could say $280,000 in retirement. And then the median is $87,000. Wow. I mean, I can't imagine my grandma, grandpa. Actually, I can, like people who are not privileged to be able to forecast everything that happens in their life, really to just kind of like flying by the seat of their pants. I can see them being in a situation where you have $87,000 at 65 years old. I can also potentially speculate that at that age, you more than likely are relying on your children to be able to create opportunities for you going into retirement. I can't see you being in a situation to be able to really choose. Now, wow, so they say the earlier you invest in your 401k, the easier it is to build your account to a hefty balance, right? So now, compound interest in mind, right? Compound interest in mind. It's important for us to get to this as early as possible. If you can tell your child at 18 years old, okay, I will allow you to work, but I want you to understand that more than majority of the funds that you're making, I want you to start contributing those monies towards a Roth IRA or putting them towards a retirement account. You can say maybe a traditional. As we just had this conversation, if you have an opportunity to take advantage of a Roth, it creates an opportunity where you're paying taxes at the age of 18 compared to the age of 45, 35, 25. So at 25, at 18, we can assume that you're probably at the lowest of low of tax brackets. Through investing into a Roth, it creates an opportunity for you to pay the least amount in taxes today and put yourself in position to be set up going into retirement, right? So now this is what we're speculating right here, right? So we're saying that if you were at the age of 20, right? And here we go right here. It says this chart right here shows how much $1,000 invested in your 401k could turn into by the age of 67, depending upon when you make your $1,000 investment, assuming that you have an 8% annual rate of return, right? That same $1,000. Now, what they're saying is if you invest $1,000 at 20, right? Assuming that you're receiving 8% return on your monies, you could have as much as $37,000 at the age of 67. That same $1,000. If you were to invest from 30 to 67, you would have $17,000. If you were to invest $1,000 at 40, you would have 79, essentially $8,000 at the age of 67. At age 50, that $1,000 would turn into $3,700 at age 67. Now, if you were 60 and you invested $1,000 with the 8% return, you would have $1,700 when you turn 67. So this speaks to the value of compounding interest, right? And what I want to show you all is how valuable compounding interest is. I will pull up this calculator. Before we do that, let's acknowledge let's acknowledge some people in the chat. Salute, Lash's Journey. How's it going? Salute, salute. We're glad to have you over here. I'm interested to hear from you all. What do you all think about the Roth 401k? Do you all think that it's a valuable proposition? Do you think that people can benefit from investing into a Roth 401k at a lower tax bracket and then put themselves in position going into the future? What do you all think about it? Let's see. Hold on. Let me see. I didn't. Let me do that. Let's see. All right. Salute Lash's Journey. Salute Peter Investor M. He's coming through. Appreciate you. He says, Simcia, salute to you in your chat. Salute to you, bro. Right? She stole my thunder. Hello, how's it going? What do you think? How you doing up there in Canada? Now, she stole my thunder. Do you all in Canada have opportunities for you to invest into your retirement with Roth dollars, so that's post-tax dollars, or is it only a situation where you're investing with pre-tax dollars? I'd be curious to find out. All right, salute Peter Investor M. He's saying salute to Wally. Salute to you, Wally versus Media. Now, he's saying hello to Lashes. He's saying hello to She Stole My Thunder. Now, first one shot, right? Says, yeah, the Roth 401k is great. Yeah, I mean, man, I wish at 18 I knew about this, like if I would have had an opportunity to focus less on trying to look like I had money and then secretly just put myself in position, no matter how bummy you look at 18, maybe you contribute 70%, 75% towards an index fund, an ETF, something that creates opportunities for upside potential going into the future, charges you a low to minimal expense ratio, and just creates opportunities to be exposed to the entire market with like a VTI or Vanguard Total Stock Market Fund, or to the S&P 500 through like a VOO or something along those lines. Just knowing about stuff like that at the age of 18, man, paramount. So right before I pull up the calculator, we will do some of the math and see what it looks like. She Stole My Thunder says, I'm Canadian, so we don't have Roth. But from what I've heard, it's a great idea to invest in. Exactly, right? Tremendously good idea. I mean, and if I could go back 20 years in the past, like the situation would be so different. Like the way that I would spend money would be so different, right? So She Stole My Thunder saying hello to Peter Investor M. And she says, yep, she's good. Thanks. Salute Melissa Jane. Melissa Jane, she understands this sort of conversation. What do you think about it, Melissa Jane? Do you believe that this is a good play right here? Do you feel like people can benefit from the opportunity to be able to invest today and pay taxes today, and then put themselves in position to have dividends and withdrawals in the future tax-free, right? She Stole My Thunder says that we have RRSPs here rather than Roth, right? And I'm assuming RRSPs are retirement accounts where someone has an opportunity. Let's look it up. RRSPs, Canada. Let's see. RRSP is a retirement savings plan that you establish, that we register, into which you and your spouse or your common law partner contribute. It's a deductible retirement savings plan. I want to say contributions can be used to reduce your tax, right? It's registered retirement savings plan. That's what the RR stands for, right? Amazing. Interesting. I had no idea. She Stole My Thunder saying hello to Melissa Jane, right? So first one shot says, at what tax bracket does Roth not make sense, right? Well, so what I was talking about here is that there's actually no income maximum for someone who's investing into a Roth 401k. It's really like the ultimate play, right? And what they do is they've created a situation where you can actually benefit, right? So let me show you. You have an opportunity to benefit, and there is no income. There's no income maximum, right? And the whole idea that there's no maximum amount that you can make when you're investing into a Roth 401k, that by itself is like the major play. And like I said earlier, was that the maximum contribution that you can make is 22,500, right? So that's you being an employee. You can contribute 22,000 after tax dollars into this right here, right? So if we were to say 22,500, you'd also have to pay the taxes, like I said before that. So you'd have to assume that your taxes would be paid, and now you would have less post-tax dollars to actually contribute towards it. But if you're making more money, it creates an opportunity for you to benefit going into the future, because who knows what the taxes are going to look like going into retirement, and what you can find yourself doing is that you develop a strategy on the back end on figuring out a way to have a tax avoidance strategy that keeps you from paying an absorbent amount of taxes, right? But that was a very good question. First one shot. When you asked this question about where does it make sense? I mean, it makes tremendous amount of sense, because you want to have an opportunity to reduce your taxable income. But usually what happens in a traditional 401k, you have a maximum amount that you can actually make before you can contribute from it. And the idea in mind is that you're putting those monies in there tax-free with a traditional 401k. So it reduces your taxable income. On that back end, you could find yourself in a tough situation if those funds end up running up, and then you have a $25,000 contribution that turns into 100 or something along those lines. Then it's going to be a lot more money than you would have paid if it was a Roth. So it's more so a situation where they're benefiting people who are prepared or in position today, right? But that was a good question, right? So Peter Investor M is saying salute to Melissa Jane, right? Melissa Jane is saying, hey, she definitely would have benefited from understanding a Roth 401k in her 20s. I mean, man, I can't imagine the situation I would be in today. If I could think about all those funds that I spent on cars, looking good, taking people out, spending monies on people that don't even talk to me today, I'd be in a different situation, and man, like the value of knowing someone who can give you actionable information and you can take actionable steps with is just very, very important. There's no way that I could actually say that I could not have benefited as a result of me knowing, hey, invest into a Roth 401k, invest into an index fund, understand the exposure that you can have with a VTI, understand the exposure you would have with a VOO, understand the exposure you would have with a REIT, understanding how expense ratios work. Those are just all the different things that help you to really make a decision. Understanding the time span by which that I need to assess an investment vehicle, whether I can look at the 1 year performance, 2 year performance, 3 year performance, 5 year performance, or the lifespan overall. I just think that it's something that just very, very helpful to have the ability to understand. So if you know how much money is being charged against your account on a monthly basis, then it makes it easier for you to make like a sound decision, right? Yeah. So She Stole My Thunder says that's what an that's what an RRSP is, right? Some companies do allow you to buy stocks, and then there are other tools to use that you can invest in now to use later. But I'm blanking on the term at this point, right? So yeah, that's fine. It's just important for us to be able to start considering our position going into a recession, right? Because what happens, generally speaking, during recessionary times is everyone's jumping off ship, right? They're seeing the balances seem like they're decreasing. And what happens is, as these balances are continuing or reflecting a lower balance, people are thinking, oh no, I need to jump off ship, get off this vehicle. But if you understand the expense ratio that's being imposed upon your account, then it makes it easier for you to say, hey, this is still the best vehicle that I have before me. And all I need to do is get a wider position, buy more shares of the same. And then whenever this ship comes up, then I have an opportunity to go up. So there's a lot of benefits in that vein, right? So First One Shot says, I'm actually splitting my contributions 50-50 between traditional and Roth, you know? And I understand the idea of splitting it 50-50, right? You know, one thing that you can consider also as well is that your 50-50 contribution puts you in better position from a tax standpoint, especially if you're trying to reduce your taxable income. What I said right here, let me go back to it right here. So I'm glad you brought this up, First One Shot. Let me bring it up right here. So this is what I said right here. So the way the math works right here, this is one of the pros of a Roth 401k, is that in order for you to contribute $1,000, this is based upon a 25% taxation situation, right? In order for you to contribute that same $1,000 that you would contribute pre-tax, you would have to understand that it's going to take something like $1,250 of your funds post-tax, so after taxes, and then being able to contribute $1,000. That's how much the total burden would be potentially that you would really be exposed to in order for you to have $1,000 in there. But if you can have that situation happen when you had a lower tax bracket compared to a higher tax bracket, I mean, it's almost a no-brainer, right? But you know, those are situations that you can really make based upon your specific situation and what you understand about it. You just have to tell yourself, do you foresee yourself making more money going into the future? Do you see yourself being at a higher tax bracket? Because what happens is a lot of people will forego paying taxes today going into the future, but then on the back end, they'll be looking for opportunities to have a taxable event that would allow them to receive funds at the lower tax bracket on the back end of life. And it just ends up being really a decision of whether you want to execute the strategy today or you want to execute the strategy, potentially complicated strategy going into the future, right? But that's a really good point. You know, the idea of 50-50 is a lot better than you being fully committed to just traditional alone. So I commend you for taking that step, right? Right. So Melissa Jane says, shout out to Peter Investor M. She stole my thunder, Lash's Journey, and Wally, right? First One Shot says this, right? He says, all of our IRA money is Roth in a VTSAX. Exactly. So salute to you, bro. Listen, VTSAX is a mutual fund that's housed by Vanguard. VTSAX is the account that's similar to what we're talking about here, right? So what we're talking about here is this. Where are we going? Here, something like 8% growth. 8% growth right here. So with 8% return on your dollars, we're getting ready to do the math on it, modeling an account similar to this one right here. So with the 8% growth situation, you have an opportunity to potentially have pretty good consistent growth over time, you know, right? So I salute you. I salute you for taking those steps. Yeah, Roth account, Roth IRA into a VTSAX is definitely a graduated play. So salute to you for knowing what to do. There's a lot of people who are not in situation to actually make that decision, right? So what does he say? First One Shot says, yeah, we're in a 24% tax bracket now and probably won't make that much in retirement. Yeah. So that's the situation right there, right? And so you end up creating opportunities for yourself, you know, with those Roth dollars. You essentially have options as to what you can deduct and what you can withdraw after a given amount of time. And those are all things that you want to talk to your finance professional about. The fact that you've already taken those steps in order for you to invest into a VTSAX is just graduated in advanced information. There are a lot of people who have no idea what sort of account to invest in. So I salute you for knowing that And I wish that I knew at my young age of 18, 22, 25, how to invest into my future opportunities. Had I known that, man, I'd be in a different situation. So we'll get ready to do the math right here. Let me show you our compound interest calculator. This calculator always borderline depresses me. You know, hindsight's 2020, and there's no way we can go back in time, right? No way. No way. All right, let's see if I can share my screen. I want to see if I can share my screen with you all. I want y'all to see this in compound interest calculator. Man, when I tell you this thing is shocking, it is shocking to say the least. All right, so what do we have here, right? Compound interest calculator. Here we go. Let's get to the monies. All right, so let's say, for instance, you're 18 years old, right? Let's say you're 18 years old. You have maybe $800 in your account, right? So you're going to put, this is a compound interest calculator here on investor.com, right? It's investor.gov, investor.gov. And I am going to share with you some of the things that you could expect if you were 18 years old, right? Check it out. 18 years old. I hope you guys can see this. I want to say yes. So let's say you're 18 years old and you can commit to putting money in not a Roth 401k, right? Because the Roth 401k has to be an account that's offered typically by your employer, right? Let's say that you're working part-time and you don't have the ability to actually invest into a retirement account of any sort outside of a Roth IRA, right? So let's say you have a Roth IRA and you're 18 years old, excited to have a first job, right? You have $800 in savings. And so you're going to move that money from your savings, right, into a Roth IRA, right? Now, what we're going to say that you're going to do a monthly contribution of, let's see if I can pull up this calculator. All right, guys, let's see if I can pull up my calculator. Let's say 2,200. No, we're going to do 3,000. We'll do $3,000 divided by 26. Now, the 26, typically 26 pay periods, right? 26 pay periods in a year, right? One more time. $3,000 because, I'm a C student, so I got to make sure my math is correct. It's real out here. All right, so every 2 weeks, we will be, excuse me, hold on. All right, here we go. Hold on, guys, hold on. We are struggling over here. Almost there. Here we go. All right. So every month, this is how much we're doing. If we're doing $3,000 annually, we're 18 years old, right? So we can't do the full $6,500 that you would contribute towards the maxing out that Roth IRA, but we can do $3,000 a year, right? So we moved the $800 from my checking account, right? And we're putting it into here because we know we're going to get better returns in a Roth IRA index fund than we would actually get if we had just a savings account or a checking account, right? So then we do, all right, so we're going to do every month, let's say $230.80, right? Right? So that's how much we're doing, right? $230.80 every single month in order for us to get to that $3,000 amount, right? So let's say the length of time we're doing it from the time we turn 18 up until we turn 22, right? When we go out into the real world, right? So we're doing that, and we're doing that for something like 4 years, right? So now the interest rate that we're going to model is the 8%, right? Estimated interest rate's 8%. Now we're going to say that on a bad year, it's going to go down to 5%, and in a good year, it's going to go up to 11%, right? Now let's say that this same account, it only compounds once a year, right? So it compounds once a year. That means that the interest that you've built up compounds on top of the additional interest that your account is incurring. So those two compound, they come together, right? Right? They stack on top of each other. Let's calculate that, right? So if we did that from 18 years old up until 22, this is how much we would have. right here. $13,525, right? Now, do you all think that an 18-year-old that's put himself in position to have money in an IRA of $13,000 at 22, do you guys think that's a valuable notion, right? Does that sound like something that would be valuable to a young man or young woman? Let me know what you guys think. Let's see. Right? Do you all think that that's a valuable notion? Let's see what you guys say. All right. First one shot says, I wish I knew that. It says, I wish I knew what I know now when I was 18. The book, A Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. Salute to J.L. Collins. He's very, very good and concise information about the value of a VTSAX, a VTI play. Definitely changed my life as well. I read that book, and man, he just makes it super simple. It's very simple information, and you just sit down and just commit to it, and you understand it. If you look at it, the life of the account, if it has generally an upward trajectory, there might be some down years, might be some up years, but overall, over time, it just continues to go up. So those are situations that you want to be in, right? He says that he would have loved to have that situation, right? So salute to NA, right? How you doing? Salute. Appreciate you coming through. Appreciate you coming and check us out. I hope this is information that you can use or you can share with a loved one going into the future, the idea of a Roth 401k, right? First one shot says, yeah. He says, heck yeah. It's a no-brainer. The Roth starting early would have been amazing. Yeah, man. I mean, granted, I don't even know if back then, like maybe 20 years ago, like I'm dating myself, 20 years ago, I don't even know if a Roth 401k was available in mass, So it's not something that we can really completely beat ourselves up about. But man, if you can just learn to sacrifice, live on rice and beans, and just figure out like more frugal methods of living and enjoying life, man, you could find yourself in a really good situation going into the future, right? All right, so here we go. So back to the calculator, right? Try your best not to be depressed. Hindsight's 2020. There's not much you can do about what you didn't do, what you didn't know, right? So let's say, for instance, right? So we're saying that these funds are compounding once a year, right? Annually, right? So just to kind of play with the numbers a little bit, I just want you guys to understand this right here. So if at the end of 4 years, right, you could have as little, if your funds were only exposed to a 5% increase, right? You would have 12,868 in that account, right? And if they were exposed to an 11% interest rate, you would have 14,200 in there, right? And that's what the funds compounding once a year annually, right? Now, let's say you were lucky and you had an opportunity for those funds to compound semi-annually, right? So now it changes that account overall at 8% by about $300, right? So it went up to about 13,810, and at 5%, that same account went from now $12,000 to now $13,030, right? If you had 5% interest that was exposed to your account, but now at 11% interest, you'd have potentially $14,600 in that account, right? So you're lucky, right? So let's say you were lucky, you found a job you found an account that has an annual compounding frequency of twice per year, right? Let's kind of play around with these numbers a little bit. Here we go. We are going to take this. So let's say, all right, so now you're 22. You're joining the workforce. You get lucky, you get a job in tech because you were strategic about your plans. So now you're getting this job in tech, and it's time for us to go up, right? So let's play with the numbers a little bit. If I can get this to work. Let's see, 13,810.49 cents. All right, so now you're getting this job in tech, right? And you're starting out. Now you have a balance of 13,800, right? Now you have an opportunity to really start playing, right? You tell yourself, look, let me put my head down. Let me focus on retirement. Let me put myself in position, right? Now I've seen in 4 years that now I can grow my account from what it was at 18. Now I have 13,000, right? So now you have the $13,000, almost $14,000, and you tell yourself, okay, all right, so now I can put a little bit more into that account, right? So maybe I'm making $70,000, right? So let's say you're making $70,000 coming straight out of school, right? $70,000. Let's say I'm gonna play with the math a little bit. Let me see. All right, hold on, guys. I want to play with the math just a little bit. I want to see. Matter of fact, let's go to the chat. Let's go to the chat. Look. All right. So look, you guys tell me if someone was earning $70,000, what's a reasonable amount for someone to put towards retirement, right? So now we said that the maximum amount that you could contribute towards a retirement, a Roth 401k, right? It's 22,500. That's what we said the maximum amount is, right? So I want you guys to tell me in the chat what's a percentage rate that you think is a reasonable amount for someone to contribute towards retirement. If the young person, 22 years old, first job in the real world, fresh out of school, they're being paid $70,000 annually. What do you all think is a good percentage for you to contribute towards retirement? Let's say that your employer is matching dollar for dollar. That means that you put 6% into your account and they put 6% into your account. So we'll add that component, right? What do you all think is an amount that if you were making $70,000, you should aim to be contributing towards your retirement? Like I said, in order for you to receive the match, you need to be contributing at least 6%. So you put 6% into the account, and then they'll also put 6% into the account. What do you all think is a reasonable amount, right? Now, 6% of $70,000, let's do the math because, I'm a C student, and we want to make sure we get these numbers right. And the teacher said that you wouldn't always have a calculator, right? So you have a calculator, right? So if you do 6% of your salary, that's $4,200, right? Out of your income, right? So now let's say, for instance, 70,000. We're going to do 70,000 times 25% because we're doing a Roth, right? We're not doing a traditional 401k. We're going to do 25%, right? Right? So 17,500. So out of $70,000, let me see if I can pull up the math. Hold up. I don't know if you guys can see my screen. All right, let's see. Let's see if this is possible. All right, let me pull up a calculator. Hold on, guys. Hold on. I want you guys to be able to see this. Calculator, savings goal, calculator. Give me a second, guys. I just realized that I'm doing the math behind the scenes, and that's a little bit rude. But while I'm waiting for you guys, tell me in the chat, what do you think is a reasonable amount? All right, now, first one shot says that at least 10%, right? So he said at least 10% is a reasonable amount for you to contribute if you're making $70,000. Now, this is a Roth, right? This is not a traditional where you're paying the taxes afterwards. This is where we're paying the taxes before, right? Here we go. First one shot says, you know what? I think that you're right. First one shot says the Roth IRA started in 99, but the Roth 401k started, I think it was a little bit more recent. That's what I'm saying. I understand the Roth IRA, and if we're not careful, we might actually lose the Roth. We might actually lose that. Let's see. All right. Wow. Okay. So it says that the Roth 401k was introduced in January of 2006. So we exactly 15 years, not 15. What am I talking about? 14. We're actually 17 years into this Roth 401k being out here, right? So that's wild. All right. Let me get back to the calculator, guys. Hold on. I want to make sure I'm not being rude, doing calculations without you guys seeing. All right, let's see. All right, bam. All right, we're gonna introduce this guy here. Give me a second. Okay. All right. We're gonna have to go back and forth, share, add to stream. We're gonna maximize it. Here we go. Bam. All right. I'm gonna take this off. All right, here we go. If I could get it off. All right. We'll struggle streaming. We're gonna build it as we fly. Here we go. All right, $70,000, right? times 25%, right? 25%. 17,500. So we're going to assume that you're going to pay 25% taxes on those dollars, right? So we're now going to say $70,000 less 17,500, right? Bam. After tax dollars, you have $52,000, right? 52,500 after taxes, right? So now we're starting to work with something, right? So we have that now. Let's say what did our brother say right here? First one shot. He said, this is what he said. He says at least 10%. That's what he said, right? So hold on. We're gonna calculate. Here we go. 10%. All right, let's go back to the math because we're struggle streaming over here. We're gonna go back. All right. Here we go. Bam. All right, $70,000. If I could type $70,000 times 25%, 17,500. I didn't show you guys the math. I want to be honest here. So we're going to do 70,000 minus 17,500. This is the taxes that we're paying on our dollars, right? So now we're left after taxes 52,500. 52,500 is our number, right? So now our brother first one shot said, what did he say? He says you should be contributing at least 10%, right? So man, let's say if we were to follow his lead, right? We're going to follow his lead because it sounds good, 10%, because you're a young man, you're focused, right? So you're going to do $70,000 times 10%, right? Times 10%, right? $7,000, right? Because we want to make sure the math is straight, right? So you're doing $70,000 and you're going to put $7,000 into your 401k. Now, remember, this is the math that we did right here, right? So we did, let's say that you get a 6% match, right? So you get a 6% match. So what's going to happen is you are going to do 70,000 times 6%. This is how much your employer will give you, assuming that you put at least 6% into that account, right? So we have that, bam, $4,200, right? So now we take 4,200 plus the 7,000 that you're going to put in there, right? Right? So that's a total of 11,200 that's going to your retirement account, right? Because you're smart, you know about the Roth, and you're doing this with after-tax dollars, right? So bam. So out of your own pocket, you're paying 7,000. Your employer's giving you 4,000, right? 4,200, right? So then we're going to do this right here because we're C students over here. We like to use the tools before us. So then we're going to do the 11,200, divide that by 26 because that's how often we get paid, right? So every paycheck, $430. Well, $430 would be going towards your retirement, right? So $430 every paycheck is going towards that. So we're going to multiply that by 2, right? So now we're saying $861.50 is going into your retirement account. So let's go back to our calculator here. Bam. Let's see. There's a lot of math, right? It's math heavy, but we can figure it out here. We're going to figure it out. So here we go. Bam. Here. Bam. Back to the calculator. Share. All right. We're going to add this. All right. So here we go. We're back here now. So our calculator said we're putting $861.50, 53 cents, or 54 cents into this retirement account, right? Right. So we're bam here. Here. All right. You guys should be able to see that. I think you can, right? All right. Bam. All right. So he's doing that. Bam. He's doing 800. Wow. I forgot it that fast. $861.54. All right. Here we go. Bam. $854 So he's at 22 years old. He's going to do this for about 10 years to the age 22. We're doing the same interest rate, same variance, compounding annually, right? So at 32, you can forecast that you could potentially have $179,000 in that account, right? If you were to have only 5% interest exposed to it, you would have $152,000. And if you would be exposed to 11%, you could have 211, right? So that's pretty good, right? That's $11,000, 200 every single year. You know, you're in a good situation, right? So let's say you did that same thing for 20 years, right? You did that for 20 years, compounding annually. In 20 years, at the age of 42, you would have $537,000 in that account, right? Assuming that on the low end, you would have $378,000 in an account if you only had 5% interest. And then you could have as much as $774,000 in there if you are being exposed to 11% interest, right? Bam. So, bam. All right, let's say that's 42. At 42, that's where you're at. Bam. All right, let's say at 52, doing the same thing, but still only doing 11,200. Here we go. Bam, right here. All right, 5%, you'd have $46,000 in there if you were only seeing a growth interest rate or compound interest rate of 5%. And excuse me, not a compound interest rate. If you were having an interest rate of 5%, and then you had an interest rate of 11%, you could have $2,372,000 in your account. This is at age 52 because we're going from the age 22 to 52, right? So look at this right here. So look at this right here. This is the position that you're in with you investing $11,200 from the age 22 to the age of 52. You'd have $1.3 million in there. Let's say you're disciplined and you do this for 40 years, right? Do this for 40 years, the very same thing. In retirement, you would have 2.9, almost $3 million in there, right? You did this for 40 years, 11,200. And on the lower end of the spectrum, if you had 5% interest that you gained as a result of that account, you'd have 1.3 million in there. If you had average the 8%, you would have 3 million in there, 3,976, almost, excuse me, 2,976,000. And then if you were on the higher end, 11% return, you would have $6.9 million in there, right? Wild. I mean, that just speaks to what compound interest can do. And if you have an opportunity to take advantage of this super early, right? Because at this age right here, this is us at 22. Us at 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and so on and so forth. So this is what compound interest can do to your account. But the earlier that you can get in this account, the better, because those dollars are like compounding on top of each other. Bam, 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 right? So you're at 62 years old. I mean, what can you do in retirement with $2.9 million? I mean, you have a reasonable amount of options, right? Now, those options are completely different from what we were talking about earlier with you having maybe $85,000 in retirement at 65. It's a completely different game. It's wild, right? And so let's say, for instance, you got lucky and that money was compounding on a semi-annual basis. Let's just do the math, right? That same account that was $2.9 million with an 8% return is now, the numbers are similar, right? The numbers are similar, $7.7 million if you are being exposed to interest rate of 11%. At 8%, like I said, it's 3.16. At 5%, it'd be 1.38, right? So those are the things that you could potentially expect. Now, the one thing that's skewed about this is that these figures are based upon perfect scenarios, perfect situation with little exposure to any dips. So those are like a complete upside potential in your accounts. And so I wanted to make sure that I gave you all an opportunity to see that, man. And to me, like, this is just mind blowing. And being able to tell yourself that if you can tell yourself, let me pay the taxes today, and then going into the future, I will just have an opportunity to see all the upside and all the taxes will be paid on it. And then I'll have an opportunity to just enjoy myself in retirement at 59 and a half or older, unless other circumstances uh, come before me ahead of that time. I just think that, we can tremendously benefit as a result of us being in position. And there are things that we can do today, and it's a matter of just having a conversation. My goal is not to sit up here and present myself as an expert, as the person who knows it all. My primary objective is to make sure that we have an opportunity to at least spark some interest, like have an opportunity to start the conversation, start understanding how planning for retirement today, investing into that 401k, that Roth 401k today, investing into a VTSAX, reading the book, The Simple Path to Wealth, like our brother First One Shot said right here. The book, A Simple Path to Wealth by J.R. Collins, changed his life. It changed my life too. And he just made it super simple. He didn't make it seem like it was complicated. He allowed people to know that VTSAX is the mutual fund version of the ETF VTI. So VTI and VTSAX are the same account. The primary difference is that VTSAX is based upon dollar value purchases. When you purchase into a VTSAX, you're buying it based upon a minimum of a $3,000 purchase in order for you to go into it. And then you buy the shares based upon that value. However many shares you can get for $3,000 is what would happen with the VTSAX. When you buy VTI as an ETF, it's the same account, but you can only buy it per share. So if the share price is $121, you can only buy it by the share. So $121 at a time, and then you would ultimately end up just continuing to grow. They don't allow you to do any fractional shares. Now, as a dividend, you can buy fractional portions of an ETF. In just a simple buy transaction, you can only do it by the share, right? So I want to remind you all that you can follow us on social media. The different links are right there in the subject section of the channel, right? And be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, right? And this is a great conversation. I hope that you had an opportunity to really consider the potential value of having a Roth 401k. I'd be interested to hear your opinion and what you think about the Roth 401k. If that's something that would be valuable to you today, do you think that it's only valuable if you were 18? I'd be interested to hear what you all have to say in the comments. So, like I said, consider subscribing to the channel if information like this is interesting to you. And beyond that, if there's nothing else, I will go ahead and conclude this conversation. And I look forward to seeing what the conversation is like in the comments. And I would like to see what you guys think. Like, do you think that this is the best potential position for people who are at a lower tax bracket? Or do you think that this is something that's only valuable to people who are high income earners, right? Beyond that, I'd like to tell you that I appreciate you coming through to the channel. My primary objective here is to figure out ways that we can have a conversation that's not rooted in someone just being the expert. Sometimes there are people that come here and they share information with us that we're not specifically familiar with, and it just creates an opportunity for us to at least have our interest peaked, and then everything from over and above that is just the icing on the cake. Beyond that, I'd like to just say I appreciate you coming through, and peace.